In my previous life, Shinjinsi was poisoned to death by my fiancé Xiaosu and my half-sister Shinjiro. The entire Shin family was executed for treason, our remains discarded in a mass grave. They trampled upon my family's blood, one was made a general of the state, the other became a general's wife, basking in boundless glory. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the very day the emperor was about to issue an edict granting me in marriage to Xiaosu. Your Majesty, this humble maiden has a petition. Before the eunuch could finish reading the imperial decree, I abruptly stepped forward and knelt on the ground. The hall fell instantly silent. The gazes of the civil and military officials pierced my back like needles. Xiaosu, standing at the foot of the imperial steps, suddenly darkened in expression. I lifted my gaze, meeting the emperor's eyes directly from his dragon throne, my voice clear and firm. Your humble servant refuses to marry General Xiaosu, the commander of the Imperial Guard. I implore your Majesty to revoke this decree. Insolent! Xiaosu roared, storming toward me in a few strides. He towered over me, his gaze piercing. Shinjinsi, do you know what you're saying? Defying an imperial decree carries the punishment of exterminating 9 generations of your family. I let out a cold laugh and rose slowly. This face, once the object of my obsession, now filled me only with revulsion. In my past life, these very eyes had watched Shinjiro force poisoned wine down my throat, had watched my father be beheaded in public. General, please calm your anger, I said, my tone level yet laced with bone-chilling coldness. This servant is not defying the decree. I merely beg your Majesty's gracious permission to alter the betrothal. This servant is willing to marry the general's own younger brother, Lord Xiaoheng. What? Xiaosu seemed struck by lightning, his pupils contracting sharply as he seized my wrist with a force nearly crushing my bones. His eyes brimmed with disbelief, even a hint of madness. Shinjinsi, what madness has overtaken you? Xiaoheng, that sickly weakling, powerless and without influence, you marry him? I wrenched my hand free, took a step back, and swept my gaze over Shinjiro, who stood pale-faced in the crowd. My voice rang out, clear and resolute. What of being a weakling? What of having no power or influence? It's better than marrying a man whose heart belongs elsewhere, who secretly carries on an affair, leaving the servant to become a widow before her time or a living corpse forced to swallow her pride. The words sent shockwaves through the hall. Shinjiro shuddered, instinctively retreating into the crowd, but I fixed her with an unyielding stare. The emperor frowned, his voice deepening. Minister Shin's daughter, what do you mean by this? General Xiao and I have been betrothed since childhood. How can you speak of secret trysts? Your Majesty, please see clearly. I stepped forward, my words rapid. 3 days ago, this servant witnessed General Xiao and my sister, Shinjiro, meeting privately at the Western Villa. Their behavior was intimate, far beyond that of ordinary siblings. Should this become public, not only would this servant bear the shame, but it would also tarnish the general's reputation. Would your Majesty's arranged marriage then become a laughingstock? You're slandering him. Shinjiro screamed, rushing forward and kneeling on the ground, sobbing, Sister, how could you fabricate such vile accusations just to avoid marrying the general? The general and I are pure and innocent. You're so cruel. Pure and innocent? I raised an eyebrow, drawing a jade pendant from my sleeve, the very one Shinjiro had flaunted in my previous life, the token of affection Xiaosu had given her. After reincarnating, I sought it out immediately at the Western Villa. So why did this jade pendant, engraved with the character Su, appear in my sister's dressing box? And why did I find it 3 days ago beneath the flower trellis at the Western Villa? I held the jade pendant high. Sunlight shone through it, making the character C stand out clearly. Xiaosu's face instantly turned ashen. His fingers clenched the jade belt at his waist so tightly his knuckles turned white. Shinjiro stared at the jade pendant, her lips trembling. She couldn't utter a word, though her tears fell even more fiercely, now utterly lacking any persuasive power. The emperor's expression darkened completely. His piercing gaze swept over Xiaosu and Shinjiro before turning to me. Shinjinsi, do you know how grave a crime it is to falsely accuse an imperial official? This servant dares not make false accusations, I declared, standing tall and unflinching. If your Majesty does not believe me, you may summon the servants from the western suburb villa for questioning, or search Shinjiro's quarters in the Shin residence. Furthermore, though young Master Xiao Heng is frail, his character is upright. He has never committed any misdeeds. This servant's marriage to him is of my own free will, not a momentary impulse. Xiaosu now resembled a lit firecracker, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at me, his gaze almost devouring me. Shinqingxi, what exactly are you trying to do? Xiao Heng won't live past 30. Are you marrying him just to become a widow? I met his frenzied gaze, a cold smile curling my lips. Whether I become a widow is my own fate. It's far better than marrying into the general's household, watching my husband and his concubine's daughter grow intimate day after day, only to end up with my family destroyed and myself ruined. I emphasized the last sentence heavily, hatred nearly spilling from my eyes. Xiaosu froze under my gaze, as if seeing me for the first time, a flicker of panic crossing his eyes. The emperor fell silent for a moment, his gaze shifting between me, Xiaosu, and Shinjiro. Finally, he spoke in a deep voice, Shinqingxi, do you truly insist on marrying Xiao Heng? I knelt and bowed my head, my voice firm, this servant's heart is set. I will marry no one but Xiao Heng in this lifetime. Xiaosu suddenly kicked the palace step beside him, roaring, absurd. Utterly absurd. Shinqingxi, you will regret this. I lifted my gaze to meet his, my smile icy. Regret? The general jests. In this life, what I lack least is regret. Naturally, I shall choose a path free of regret. The emperor waved his hand, his voice deep. Enough. Marriage is a weighty matter, it cannot be forced. Transmit my decree, Shinqingxi, daughter of Grand Scholar Shin, is betrothed to Xiao Heng. The wedding shall take place in 3 days. Xiaosu, withdraw. This matter shall be discussed later. Your Majesty. Xiaosu tried to protest, but the emperor's icy glare forced him back. He stared at me with eyes brimming with venom and madness, as if he wanted to devour me alive. I rose to my feet, towering over him as I spoke slowly. My voice was quiet, yet clear enough for him to hear. General, for the rest of our lives, I ask that we each find our own peace. Or rather, I should say, each fight our own battles. Xiaosu's body jerked violently. His face turned ashen. He spun on his heel and stormed out, his departing figure radiating a torrent of rage and a barely perceptible flicker of panic. Shinjiro collapsed onto the floor, her face as pale as paper. Her eyes fixed on me, brimming with venom and terror. I couldn't be bothered to look at her. Turning to the emperor, I curtsied in gratitude. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your understanding. The emperor regarded me with a complex gaze. Shinqingxi, you are a woman of conviction. But Xiao Heng. You must be careful. I offered a faint smile, its hidden sharpness known only to me. This servant understands. Stepping out of the Grand Harmony Hall, the sunlight was blinding, yet I felt an unmistakable sense of relief wash over me. Xiaosu, Shinjiro, what you owed me and the Shin family in my past life, I shall reclaim in this one, every last bit, with interest. Just as I reached the palace gates, a cool, detached voice called from behind, Miss Shin, please wait. I turned to see a pale-faced man in a blue robe standing not far off, Xiaosu's younger brother, Xiao Heng. He was slender, with gentle features that suggested frailty, yet his eyes held a sharpness that belied his appearance. Approaching me, he bowed slightly. Miss Shin, I thank you for today. I raised an eyebrow, meeting his gaze. Young Master Xiao, there's no need to thank me. I only acted for myself. He smiled, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Regardless, you ultimately chose me. The wedding is in 3 days. Miss Shin, are you not afraid? I met his gaze, a confident smile curving my lips. Fear? Shinqingxi has never known the meaning of fear. Young Master Xiao, soon we shall be husband and wife. Rather than worrying whether I am afraid, perhaps we should consider how we shall face the vengeance of your esteemed elder brother after the wedding. Xiao Heng's smile faded, his eyes growing deep. Since Miss Shin dares to marry, she must have a plan. Shall we find a place to discuss this properly? I nodded, understanding fully. This Xiao Heng, he truly isn't as simple as he appears. Very well. I stepped forward first. How about that tea house up ahead? He followed, his footsteps light yet steady. As you wish, Miss Shin. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows upon us. I knew this path of vengeance had only just begun. And Xiao Heng would be my first ally along the way, and perhaps the most dangerous variable. But I wasn't afraid. Having died once in my past life, this time around, I will live with even greater ruthlessness. Xiao Heng watched my straightened back, a fleeting, barely perceptible hint of approval flashing in his eyes. He murmured softly, "Miss Shin, you are quite different from the rumors." I turned to look at him, my smile bright yet icy. "Rumors are just rumors, Mr. Xiao. In time, you will discover that I am far more different than you ever imagined." In the tea house's private room, steam rose from the tea, yet it couldn't warm the air thick with testing. Xiao Heng lifted his teacup, his fingertips pale but steady. "Miss Shin, you chose me merely to use the prestige of the Xiao family to shield yourself from Xiao's sharp edge, and to avenge your own grievances." I didn't deny it. I lifted my cup, sipped the tea, and felt bitterness on my tongue. We're in the same boat. If you don't wish to spend your life as Xiao's stepping stone, a sickly figure in name only, you should recognize this marriage benefits us both. He lifted his gaze, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. "What do you want? The Shin family's case overturned, or Xiao's ruin?" "Both." I set down the teacup, my voice unwavering. What he owed me in the past life, what he owed the Shin family, I'll make him repay it 1,000-fold. And you need an opportunity to break free from Xiao's control, don't you? Xiao Heng smiled, clearing his throat twice, yet his eyes held no trace of illness. "Miss Shin is quite perceptive. I can help you, but I have one condition. After we bring down Xiao Su, I want the command of the Imperial Guards." "Deal." I didn't hesitate. "The military power is yours, his life is mine." No sooner had the words left my mouth than the private room door burst open. Shinyuro stormed in with 2 maids, pointing her finger at me and screaming, "Shinchinsi! You bitch! Not content with stealing my husband, you conspire with Xiao Heng to scheme against my elder brother?" I arched an eyebrow, rising slowly. "Sister, your words are mistaken. Xiao Su was never your husband to begin with. As for scheming, what Xiao Gongzi and I discussed were marital affairs. What business is that of yours?" "Marital affairs?" Shinyuro's face flushed crimson with rage. "You shameless creature! Xiao Heng is a sickly man who won't live long. Marrying him is nothing but self-degradation." Xiao Heng's expression darkened slightly, but he remained silent, merely sipping his tea while watching the spectacle unfold. I stepped closer, looming over Shinyuro, my voice low and icy. "Degrading myself? That's better than certain people who eagerly meddle in others' betrothals only to end up discarded like worn-out shoes." Shinyuro shuddered, her eyes darting wildly. You're talking nonsense." "Nonsense?" I sneered, drawing a delicate silver hairpin from my sleeve, the very one she'd used to slash my face in my past life. After rebirth, I'd deliberately retrieved it from her chambers. 3 days ago, at the Western Villa, you used this pin to cut Xiao's sleeve, declaring it would become his intimate token. Shall I repeat those words before the entire capital? Shinyuro's face drained of color instantly. She lunged forward to grab it. "Give it back." I sidestepped her and seized her wrist with such force she cried out in pain. "Shinyuro, don't think I don't know what you're scheming. You want to marry Xiao Su, to climb to power by stepping on me. Too bad, this time, I won't give you the chance. Let me go." She struggled. Her maidservant moved to intervene but froze at Xiao Heng's glare, paralyzed with fear. "I can release you," I murmured coldly into her ear. "But remember this, stop meddling in my affairs. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to broadcast your secret trysts with Xiao Su throughout the capital. I'll ensure Shinyuro never holds her head high again." Shinyuro trembled violently, her eyes filled with venom, yet she dared not defy me further. I released her grip. She staggered back several steps, pointing at me. "Shinqingxi, you just wait. I won't let you get away with this." "I'll be waiting," I replied calmly, "but next time you come, you'd best weigh your own worth first. Don't make such a fool of yourself again." Shinyuro trembled with rage but dared not utter another word. She fled the room in disarray, her maidservant trailing behind. Silence returned to the private room. Xiao Heng looked at me, a hint of approval in his eyes. "Miss Shin, you're quite efficient. No need to be polite with people like her. I sat back down, lifting my teacup. She and Fiancé are in cahoots, she must hold quite a bit of leverage over him. That might come in handy later. Fiancé nodded. I'll have someone keep an eye on her. Fiancé will surely make his move at the wedding in 3 days. How do you plan to handle it? We'll meet force with force, water with earth. A cold gleam flashed in my eyes. If he wants to humiliate me, I'll make him lose face. By the way, can the people in your residence be trusted? Fiancé shook his head. Most are Fiancé's spies, but I have a few trusted confidants. That should suffice. Good. I set down my teacup and rose. On the wedding day, I'll have someone bring certain items. You need only cooperate. Fiancé also stood, his gaze deepening. Rest assured, Miss Shin. I won't disappoint you. I nodded and turned toward the door. Just as I reached the threshold, Fiancé's voice followed. Miss Shin, you seem to know far too much about Fiancé. My footsteps halted. I turned to face him, a meaningful smile curving my lips. Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will never be defeated in 100 battles. Young Master Xiao, we are allies. What should not be asked, do not ask. Fiancé looked at me, silent for a moment before slowly nodding. Very well. I won't ask about your past. I only see our future. I said nothing more and pushed open the door to step out of the private room. Outside the tea house, the sunlight was perfect. The street bustled with people, vibrant and lively. But I knew beneath this calm surface, dark currents were already churning. Fiancé wouldn't let this rest, and Shinjiro wouldn't back down either. The wedding day would surely be a fierce battle. Just as I reached the street corner, a familiar figure appeared, Fiancé's personal guard, tailing me with suspicious movements. I let out a cold laugh and deliberately turned into a quiet alley. The guard followed, drawing his sword and pointing it at me. Miss Shin, the general requests your presence. The general commands, and I must obey? I raised an eyebrow, my tone icy. The guard's expression darkened. Miss Shin, don't be ungrateful. The general said if you refuse to go, don't blame me for being impolite. Impolite? I stepped forward, a flicker of murderous intent in my eyes. You think you can beat me? The guard froze, clearly not expecting such words. In my past life, I was obsessed with Fiancé, never stepping beyond the inner courtyard. Everyone believed me to be a helpless, powerless woman. But they didn't know that years ago, my father had hired renowned masters to teach me martial arts. It was only later, for Fiancé's sake, that I deliberately concealed my true strength. Refuse the wine, and you'll drink the punishment. The guard roared, swinging his sword at me. I sidestepped the blow, seized his wrist with a backhand grip, and twisted with all my strength. A distinct crack echoed through the air, the sound of bones snapping. The guard cried out in agony, his sword clattering to the ground. I planted my foot on his wrist, towering over him. Go tell Fiancé this, if he wants to trouble me, he'd better come himself. And next time he sends such useless trash, it'll only disgrace his title as general of the nation. The guard's face drained white. He trembled in agony but dared not argue. I released my foot and turned to leave, leaving him wailing where he stood. As I stepped onto the street, Xiaohang's voice reached me from behind. Miss Shin, impressive skills. I turned to see him standing not far away, a faint smile playing at his lips. Merely scratching the surface. I replied coolly. Is young Master Xiao following me because he lacks confidence? Not lack of confidence. I find Miss Shin increasingly intriguing. He drew nearer, his gaze deepening. Fiancé sent guards to attack you. He likely intends to strike before the wedding. You must be vigilant. I know. I nodded. But the more he rushes, the more likely he is to slip up. Young Master Xiao, on our wedding day, it'll be up to us. Xiaoheng nodded, a resolute gleam flashing in his eyes. Agreed. I'll make him realize he picked the wrong person to mess with. 3 days before the wedding, dowry items piled like a small mountain in the rear courtyard of the Shin residence. I was flipping through a box of military manuals left by my mother when a timid maid's voice came from outside the door. Miss Shin, second miss says she'd like to come help you sort through your dowry. Let her come. I closed the book, a cold gleam flashing in my eyes. Shinjuruwa coming at this time surely meant no good. Sure enough, the moment she entered, she feigned concern, taking my hand. Sister, with your wedding tomorrow, I've come to help ensure nothing is overlooked. Young Master Xiao Hung is frail. You mustn't suffer any hardship after marrying him. I withdrew my hand and replied flatly, thank you for your concern, sister. The trousseau is already accounted for. Her gaze drifted to the rosewood chest in the corner, and a barely perceptible smile touched her lips. Sister, that chest looks rather valuable. What's inside? Let me take a peek. That is the dowry my mother left me. Besides gold, silver, and jewels, it holds the roster of father's former subordinates, my crucial leverage to bring down Xiao Su. Shinjuro likely wants to steal it, or plant something unsavory inside to ruin my reputation. It's just clothes and jewelry. What's so interesting? I stood before the chest, my tone cold. Shinjuro persisted, reaching to lift the lid. Sister, why so stingy? Looking won't make anything disappear. I seized her wrist with my free hand, gripping tighter than last time. Pain brought tears to her eyes, yet she stubbornly protested. Sister, let go. I'm just curious. Curious? I sneered, violently flinging open the lid. You're curious if there's anything in here to frame me, aren't you? Besides jewels and garments, a small packet of cinnabar lay exposed, an evil talisman used for hexes. If discovered, I wouldn't just be disowned from the engagement, I'd be branded a demonic sorceress. Both the Shin family and I would suffer. Shinjuro's face drained instantly as she struggled to pull her hand back. I didn't put it there. Sister, don't make false accusations. Not you? I picked up the cinnabar packet and held it under her nose. This scent is identical to the special powder in your dressing table. Do you think I can't tell? Her body trembled, her eyes darting wildly. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know? I raised my hand and slammed the cinnabar hard against her face. Red powder scattered across her hair and face. Shinjuro, you think putting this in my dowry will stop me from marrying? That it will make Xiao Su change his mind and marry you? Let me tell you, you're dreaming. She screamed and stumbled backward. The maidservant hurried forward to wipe her face, but the more she wiped, the messier it became. I won't pursue today's incident for now. I closed in on her, my voice icy. But remember this, if you ever touch my things again, if you ever play tricks on me again, I'll expose your secret collection of cursed objects and your attempt to curse your elder sister. I'll make sure you never marry, doomed to spend the rest of your life in a nunnery. Shinjuro trembled in terror, unable even to sob aloud. Covering her face, she fled in disarray. After dismissing her, I immediately locked the chest and retrieved a wax paper packet from beneath the bed. It contained the secret signals for contacting father's former comrades. In my previous life, I only learned on my deathbed that not all of father's old comrades had been silenced. Many still lived in hiding, biding their time for vengeance. This time, I found them early. Just as I hid the oil paper bundle, a faint sound came from outside the window. I looked up warily, catching only a fleeting shadow in black robes that left behind a small paper ball. Unfolding it, I saw Xiao Heng's handwriting. On the wedding procession route through the western forest, Xiao Su has laid an ambush to destroy your reputation. Just as I suspected. In my previous life, it was on this very bridal procession route that he had men disguised as bandits. Not only did they seize my dowry, but they also slandered me, claiming I'd been defiled by bandits, turning my wedding day into a laughingstock. This lifetime, he intends to repeat the same trick. I let out a cold laugh and picked up my brush to write a reply. Understood. At the 3rd hour of the morning, meet at the eastern edge of the forest. Smoke will signal our rendezvous. Tossing the crumpled paper back out the window, I rose swiftly, changed into agile attire, and scaled the back wall to escape. I knew the western forest well. My father had taken me hunting there in my past life. I remembered a secret passage leading to the eastern valley. When I found Uncle Zhao, the leader of my father's former men, he was forging iron in a blacksmith's shop. Seeing me, he froze for a moment before abruptly kneeling. Young miss. You're still alive. Uncle Zhao, rise and speak. I helped him up. Now is not the time for reminiscing. Xiao Su intends to harm me on the wedding procession route. I need your help. A flash of ruthlessness flickered in Uncle Zhao's eyes, that dog of a villain. He betrayed the Lord back then, and now he dares threaten the young miss. Whatever the young miss commands, we'll brave fire and water. At the 3rd hour tomorrow, take 20 men and ambush the valley east of the western forest. I lowered my voice. When you see black smoke rising from the forest, charge in immediately. Rescue the abducted me and capture a few of Xiao's men along the way. Remember, take them alive. Understood. Uncle Zhao nodded firmly. Rest assured, miss, we'll handle it perfectly. By the time I returned to the Shin residence, night had fallen. No sooner had I entered than the steward rushed over. Miss Shin, the general's residence sent a letter. They say the general has urgent matters to discuss. I took the letter and opened it. Xiao's handwriting was there, the tone insincere. Qingxi, all past grievances were my fault. Tomorrow, on our wedding day, I will give you a grand ceremony. I beg you not to hold a grudge any longer. If you have time, would you consider meeting me tonight at the hour of high in the mansion's garden? Trying to meet me alone to strike? I snorted derisively and tore the letter to shreds. At the appointed hour, I arrived at the garden. Xiao Su was indeed there, dressed in a moon-white brocade robe, appearing refined and courteous. Had I not known his true nature, I might have been charmed by his facade. Qingxi, you've come. He stepped forward, reaching to take my hand. I sidestepped him, my tone icy. General, speak plainly. I have no time to waste on you. The smile froze on his face before he sighed. Qingxi, I know you're still angry. But my feelings for you have never changed. Marrying Xiao Hong will not bring you happiness. Tomorrow is the wedding. Come with me. I'll take you far away. Will you? Fly away? I raised an eyebrow. Are you suggesting I become a runaway bride, dragging the entire Shin family down with me? Or do you plan to arrange another accidental death for me along the way? Xiao Su's expression darkened, a flash of cruelty in his eyes. Qingxi, don't push your luck. I'm offering you a kind warning, yet you refuse to see reason. Good and bad? I sneered coldly. Does the lives of my entire Shin family not count as good or bad in your eyes? Xiao Su, do you think I don't know what you plan to do tomorrow? The ambush in the western forest, do you think you can hide it from me? Xiao Su's body trembled violently as he stared at me in disbelief. How do you know? If you don't want others to know, then don't do it yourself. I stepped forward, my eyes burning with murderous intent. Xiao Su, tomorrow's wedding procession isn't my death march, it's your own. His face turned ashen. He yanked the sword from his waist and pointed it at me. Qingxi, since you know everything, you won't leave here alive. You think you can kill me? I sneered, advancing instead of retreating. This is the Shin residence, not your general's mansion. You dare strike here? Don't you fear being discovered and branded a murderer of your own fiancé? Xiao's movements froze, his gaze shifting between anger and hesitation. He truly dared not kill me here, doing so would only alert the snake and ruin his plans for tomorrow. You just wait. He sheathed his sword with a bitter gulp. Tomorrow, we'll see how long you can keep up your defiance. I watched his retreating back, a cold smile curling my lips. Back in my room, I barely lit the oil lamp when a soft sound came from the roof. Moments later, a small paper ball landed on the table. I unfolded it, Xiao Heng's handwriting. Xiao Su has returned to the mansion. Tomorrow's ambush force will be increased to 50 men. I'll have my trusted men set fire to the western edge of the dense forest to support you. I picked up my brush and replied, excellent. Act according to circumstances tomorrow. Leave no loose ends. Tossing the paper ball back onto the roof, I lay on the bed and closed my eyes. Tomorrow marks the first major battle. Xiao Su, Shinjiro, are you ready? Outside, the moon shone bright, yet sleep eluded me. I waited only for dawn's arrival. Then, a faint knock sounded at the door. Xiao Heng's messenger whispered, Miss, the young master asked me to tell you to be cautious in all matters. He will await you in the bridal chamber. I opened my eyes, my voice calm yet resolute. Tell young Master Shao to rest assured. I shall arrive punctually. The wedding procession's shaw music deafened me, red silk filling the sky. It almost looked like a genuine celebration. Seated inside the bridal sedan chair, my fingertips gripped a sharp silver hairpin, a weapon for self-defense, and also a prop for today's charade. As the sedan chair reached the dense woods of the western suburbs, the shaw music abruptly ceased. The surrounding silence became terrifyingly still. A cold smile curled my lips. The bait had been taken. Hey! This mountain is mine. These trees are mine. Leave the bride and her dowry, and we'll spare your lives. A rough shout rang out as dozens of masked, black-clad figures burst from the woods, wielding swords and clubs, blocking the procession. The palanquin bearers and attendants scattered in terror. Only the few trusted men Xiaoheng had sent remained by the palanquin, though their presence was merely for show. Miss, what shall we do? Came the anxious voice from outside the palanquin, though it was all part of the plan. I lifted the curtain and rose to my feet, feigning panic, though my eyes betrayed no fear. Who are you? To dare ambush an official wedding procession in broad daylight. The leader of the black-clad men sneered, pointing his blade at me. Enough talk. Leave the dowry and come with us, or we won't be polite. I am the bride betrothed by imperial decree. How dare you lay a hand on me? I took a step back, deliberately feigning panic, but my feet quietly shifted toward a prearranged spot, near the entrance to the secret passage on the eastern edge of the dense forest, where Uncle Zhao and the others lay in ambush. The black-clad men paid no heed, swarming forward to seize me. I suddenly drew my silver hairpin and stabbed backward at the foremost assailant, striking his wrist squarely. He cried out in pain, his blade clattering to the ground. You're asking for death. Another black-clad man roared, slashing at me. I sidestepped the blow, kicked him hard in the knee, and sent him stumbling to the ground. Though skilled in martial arts, I knew I was outnumbered. Feigning exhaustion, I fought while retreating, slowly edging toward the secret passage. The black-clad men pursued relentlessly, spewing filthy insults. This bride's got some looks, perfect to take back as the chief's wife. Just then, a whistle pierced the eastern valley. Over 20 burly men armed with weapons burst forth, Uncle Zhao's old troops from father's days. Each man was agile and swift, instantly engaging the black-clad assailants in fierce combat. Miss, fear not. We've come to rescue you. Uncle Zhao bellowed, slashing down one of the black-clad men with his blade. Caught off guard by the ambush, the black-clad men immediately lost their formation. I seized the chance to counterattack, my silver hairpin striking again and wounding 2 more. Several trusted men sent by Xiaoheng immediately joined the fray. Caught between 2 forces, the black-clad men quickly collapsed into disarray. Retreat! Retreat now! Seeing the situation turn against them, the leader of the black-clad men tried to flee. Trying to run? Too late! I barked, leaping forward to kick him hard in the back, sending him crashing to the ground. Uncle Zhao immediately stepped forward, swiftly binding him with ropes. The remaining black-clad figures were either slain or captured alive, with only a handful managing to escape. I smoothed out the slightly disheveled wedding gown, walked over to the bound leader, crouched down, and ripped off his mask. An unfamiliar face, yet bearing the rugged features of a soldier under Xiao's command. Speak, I demanded coldly, my silver hairpin pressed against his throat. The slightest pressure would slit his windpipe. His face drained of color, yet he clenched his jaw. I don't know what you're talking about. We're just common bandits. Common bandits? I sneered coldly, slipping a token from his waist, engraved with the words General's command. Ordinary bandits? Carrying a token from the General's command? His body trembled, his eyes darting wildly, yet he stubbornly insisted, this. I found it! Found it? I raised my hand, and the silver hairpin sliced his cheek. Blood flowed instantly. If you don't tell the truth now, I'll slice off your flesh piece by piece, letting you taste the agony of wanting to live but unable to, wanting to die but unable to. The black-clad man trembled in terror, tears and snot streaming down his face. I'll talk. I'll talk. It was the general of the nation who sent us. He ordered us to steal the dowry, tarnish your reputation, and ruin your marriage to young Master Xiaoheng. What else? I pressed, my eyes burning with murderous intent. The general also said that if this were exposed, he would kill you and make it look like you were murdered by bandits. He cried, begging, "Please spare me. I was only following orders." I dared not disobey. Following orders? I sneered coldly. My entire Shin family was slaughtered by people like you, who merely followed orders. Just then, the clatter of hooves echoed through the air. Xiao Heng arrived with several attendants. He still wore his wedding robes. His face was pale, yet his eyes were sharp. Spotting the captive and the corpse on the ground, a flicker of understanding passed through his gaze. "Qingxi, are you all right?" He dismounted and approached me, his voice tinged with concern. "I'm fine." I stood up and pointed at the black-clad man on the ground. "We've captured him, and he's confessed. He was sent by Xiao Su." Xiao Heng looked at the black-clad man, his gaze icy. "Do you know that falsely accusing an imperial official is a capital offense?" The black-clad man immediately cowed out. "This humble servant dares not make false accusations. Every word is true. Deputy Commander Zhang from the general's mansion can testify. He relayed the orders to us." "Deputy Commander Zhang?" Xiao Heng raised an eyebrow, glancing at his attendant. "Go. Summon Deputy Commander Zhang. Tell him urgent matters require discussion." "Yes, sir." The attendant immediately rode off on horseback. Just then, a commotion erupted in the distance. Shinyuro arrived with several servants from the Shin residence. Seeing the scene before her, she feigned surprise and exclaimed, "Sister, are you all right? You scared me to death. These bandits are utterly brazen." Observing her affected manner, I sneered coldly, "My dear sister, you've arrived just in time. Did you know trouble would happen here and come just to watch me suffer?" Shinyuro paled and waved her hands hastily. "Sister, how could you say that? I rushed over because I was worried about you." "Worried about me?" I stepped closer, my voice low. "Or were you worried Xiaosu's plan would fail, and you wouldn't become the general's wife?" She trembled, her eyes darting nervously. I don't know what you're talking about. Better that you don't." I turned away, no longer paying her any mind. "Uncle Zhao, take the prisoner away. Keep a close watch, don't let him escape, but don't kill him either." "Yes, miss." Uncle Zhao immediately ordered his men to escort the black-clad figure away. Xiao Heng watched me, a hint of approval in his eyes. "I didn't expect you'd already made preparations." "How could I not prepare for Xiao Su?" I replied calmly. He dared to act, he should have expected this day. Hoofbeats echoed again as Xiao Heng's attendant brought Deputy General Zhang over. Zhang's face drained instantly at the sight of the corpse and the escorted figure in black, his eyes darting nervously. "Young Master Xiao, what urgent matter calls for my presence?" he asked, forcing composure. Xiao Heng pointed at the escorted black-clad man. "Deputy Commander Zhang, do you recognize him?" Zhang's expression darkened further upon seeing the man. He shook his head. "No. I don't." The black-clad man immediately cried out, "Deputy Commander Zhang, how could you not recognize me? You ordered us to ambush Miss Shin in the western forest. You gave us the token. Save me." Deputy Zhang trembled violently and snapped, "You're lying. I don't even know you. Stop making these false accusations." "I'm not making false accusations," the black-clad man wailed. "You gave us 50 taels of silver to disappear after the job. Have you forgotten? You have a scar on your left hand, from when you cut yourself with a knife while drinking last time." Deputy Commander Zhang instinctively covered his left hand, his face turning as pale as paper. He could say nothing more. Xiao Heng stared at him, his gaze icy. "Deputy Commander Zhang, what more can you say now?" Zhang knelt with a thud, banging his head repeatedly on the ground. "Spare my life, young master. I was following orders. The general commanded me. I dared not disobey." "Following orders again?" I scoffed coldly, stepping before him. "Whatever Xiao Su tells you to do, you do? Even if it defies heaven and harms humanity? Even if it treats human life as grass?" Deputy Commander Zhang dared not lift his head, only bowing his head repeatedly. Please spare my life, Miss Shin. Please spare my life, young Master Xiao. Xiao Heng sighed and looked at his attendant. Take Deputy Commander Zhang into custody. Bring him back to the general's residence and keep him under strict watch. Once we return to the capital, we will report this matter to His Majesty. Yes, sir. The attendants immediately stepped forward and bound Deputy Commander Zhang. Shinjiro stood nearby, her face ashen. Watching the scene unfold, she trembled violently, clearly unprepared for events to escalate to this point. Observing her panicked state, a cold smile curled at the corner of my lips. Xiao Su, Shinjiro, this is only the beginning. What you owe me, what you owe the Shin family, I will reclaim every last bit by bit. Xiao Heng stepped beside me, his voice soft. The wedding procession is still waiting outside. We should go. I nodded, turning to face the bridal sedan chair. Very well. But this wedding would hardly be peaceful. A resolute gleam flashed in Xiao Heng's eyes. The more turbulent, the better. It would be perfect. Let everyone see exactly what kind of man Xiao Su truly is. I lifted my gaze to meet his, my smile radiant yet icy. Young Master Xiao speaks wisely. Then let us go to the general's residence and make it truly lively. Xiao Heng looked at me, a hint of amusement flickering in his eyes. Very well. Let us go together. The sham's melody sounded once more as the wedding procession resumed its journey, though the atmosphere was utterly transformed from before. The bridal sedan chair descended at the general's mansion. Red felt carpets were laid to the main hall, yet not a trace of joy remained. I stepped onto the red felt and entered the wedding chamber. Xiao Su stood before the altar in court robes, his face ashen enough to drip water. His eyes held a torrent of hatred, yet he forced himself to remain composed. Shin Qingzi, you have quite the nerve. His voice was low and gritted. Bringing outsiders into my general's mansion? Kidnapping my deputy commander? Are you planning a rebellion? I smoothed the hem of my bridal gown and gave a cold laugh. Rebellion? The general must be joking. I merely brought 2 witnesses to add a little color to today's wedding. No sooner had the words left my mouth than Uncle Zhao entered the wedding hall, leading the tightly bound black-clad man and Deputy General Zhang. The guests erupted into a murmur, eyes brimming with curiosity and shock. Shinjiro hid among the crowd, her face ashen, not daring to lift her head. Xiao Su slammed his fist on the table, roaring, Shinqingzi. How dare you bring 2 prisoners to disrupt my wedding day? Guards, drag them out. Who dares move? I barked, stepping forward to block Uncle Zhao and the others. These 2 are crucial witnesses. If we don't clarify matters today, I'd rather not marry. The wedding hall fell instantly silent, guests exchanging bewildered glances. Xiao Heng walked beside me, his expression calm. Brother, since Qingzi brought witnesses, why not hear what they have to say? If Qingzi is causing trouble without reason, I will personally give you an explanation. But if someone is deliberately framing her, we cannot just let it go. Xiao Su glared at Xiao Heng, his eyes dark and fierce. You're siding with outsiders. She's an outsider, I'm your real elder brother. Husband and wife are one. Qingzi is no outsider. Xiao Heng's tone was firm. Moreover, I trust Qingzi's character. She wouldn't bring 2 people here to cause trouble without reason. Xiao Su trembled with rage, yet he was powerless. He knew that if he didn't let these 2 speak today, it would only make him look guilty. Fine. I'll hear what nonsense they have to say. Xiao Su roared, Speak. Who sent you? Did Shin Qingzi bribe you to slander me? The black-clad man trembled in terror, stammering, No. It was you, General. You ordered Deputy Commander Zhang to ambush Miss Shin in the Western Forest, seize her dowry, and ruin her reputation. If exposed, we were to kill her to silence her. Nonsense. Xiao Su snapped. I don't even know you. Stop making these baseless accusations. I'm not making baseless accusations. The black-clad man cried. General, don't you remember? On the 15th of last month, you summoned me to your study and gave me 100 taels of silver to gather men. You even promised me an official post once the job was done. Xiao Su's face darkened instantly, his eyes darting nervously. You're lying. I've never seen you before. I'm not lying. The black-clad man persisted. In your study hangs the 1,000 li of rivers and mountains scroll. In the lower left corner is an ink stain, left when you accidentally knocked over your inkstone. And behind your right ear is a red mole. I saw these things with my own eyes. The guests immediately began whispering among themselves, their eyes all darting to the area behind Xiaosu's right ear. Xiaosu instinctively covered his ear, his face turning as pale as paper. Seeing this, Deputy General Zhang knew the truth could no longer be concealed. He hurriedly kowtowed, "Your Majesty, spare my life. General, spare my life. I acted in momentary folly, following your orders to commit such heinous crimes. I beg you, have mercy. You traitor!" Xiaosu roared, lunging forward to strike Deputy General Zhang, only to be restrained by Xiaoheng. "Brother, at this point, do you still wish to argue?" Xiaoheng's tone was icy. "Deputy General Zhang was your confidant. Without your orders, how could he have dared to do such a thing?" Just then, footsteps sounded outside the door. An official dressed in censor's robes entered, followed by several guards. "General of the state, Miss Shin, young Master Xiao, His Majesty has commanded me to investigate this matter." The censor stepped to the center of the main hall and bowed respectfully. Xiao's face lit up with joy. "Your Honor, you've finally arrived. This is all a scheme orchestrated by Shin Qingci. She deliberately colluded with outsiders to frame me, all because she refuses to marry Xiaoheng and seeks to ruin my reputation. I implore you, Your Honor, to vindicate me." "General, that is not the case." I stepped forward, my tone calm. "If I had staged this myself, why would I risk my life fighting bandits in the western forest? Moreover, both these men can testify against the general. Did I bribe them both?" The censor turned to the dark-clad man and demanded gravely, "Speak clearly. Who exactly ordered you to do this? If a single word is false, this official will not let you off lightly." The dark-clad man hurriedly replied, "Your Honor, it was indeed the general of the nation who ordered me. Deputy General Zhang can attest to this, and the general's official token serves as proof." The censor turned to Deputy Commander Zhang, who prostrated himself repeatedly, "Your Honor, every word is true. The general ordered me to do it. I deserve death 1,000 times over." The censor then fixed Xiaosu with a piercing gaze. "Defender of the nation, what do you have to say for yourself?" Xiaosu's face drained of color, yet he still tried to wriggle out of it. "Your Honor, they've all colluded. They sought to frame me. I implore Your Honor to investigate thoroughly." "Thoroughly?" I sneered coldly, drawing a letter from my sleeve. This was a letter Xiaosu had written to Shinjiro 3 days prior, mentioning plans to strike me during the wedding procession and declaring his intent to make Shinjiro the general's wife. "Your Honor, examine this. Is this not Xiaosu's handwriting?" The censor took the letter, scrutinized it carefully, then passed it to the clerk beside him. After a moment of comparison, the clerk nodded. "Your Honor, this is indeed the handwriting of the general of the nation." Shinjiro trembled violently, waving her hands frantically. "It wasn't me. I know nothing of this letter. Shin Qingci forged it." "Forged?" I raised an eyebrow. "This letter was found in your dressing box, bearing your rouge imprint. Did you truly believe you could deceive everyone?" Shinjiro fell silent, collapsing to the floor as tears streamed down her face. Xiaosu watched the scene unfold, his face ashen as he realized the game was up. Yet he clung to hope. "Your Excellency, even if I wrote that letter, it was a moment of folly. I never truly intended to harm Miss Shin. Please spare me this once." "A momentary lapse?" I barked. "General, when you slaughtered my entire Shin family, was that a momentary lapse? When you had bandits defile my honor and sought to kill me, was that a momentary lapse?" The censor's expression darkened as he turned to Xiaosu. "General of the Imperial Guard, this matter involves attempted murder and corruption of the state. I cannot decide its outcome. Guards! Take Xiaosu, Deputy General Zhang, the man in black, and Shinjiro back to the censorate. They shall face His Majesty's judgment. Spare my life, Your Honor." Xiaosu screamed, but the guards held him down. Shinjiro was also hauled away by maidservants, wailing, "Sister, I was wrong. Please spare me. I'll never dare again. I watched their retreating figures, my eyes utterly unruffled. This is only the beginning. What they owe me is far from repaid. The wedding guests stood stunned, murmuring in shock. Xiao Heng approached me and murmured, I didn't expect you'd even prepared the letters. When dealing with them, one must always have a backup plan. I replied indifferently, though I regretted not being able to bring Xiaosu down on the spot. Don't be impatient. Xiao Heng looked at me, a hint of depth flickering in his eyes. I've already made arrangements with the censorate. This time, Xiaosu would pay dearly. Even if he didn't die, he'd be severely punished. I lifted my gaze to meet his, a faint smile curling my lips. Young Master Xiao certainly thinks ahead. We are allies. Your affairs are mine. His tone was calm yet resolute. What are your next steps? My eyes sharpened as I surveyed the scattered red silk in the wedding hall. Next, I intend to find the evidence of my father's confiscated estate. If Xiaosu could frame my Shin family, he must possess plenty of unsavory secrets. Xiao Heng nodded. I'll have people investigate for you. But be cautious. Though Xiaosu has been taken away, his followers remain. They might target you. I know. I turned to face the doorway. But I'm no pushover either. If they dare come, I dare meet them. Xiao Heng watched my resolute back, a flicker of approval in his eyes. Good. Whatever you choose to do, I will stand by you. Sunlight streamed through the doors and windows, bathing the wedding hall. The crimson silk remained vivid, yet it could no longer conceal the filthy schemes lurking beneath. I know the path ahead will be even more arduous, but I will not retreat. Xiaosu, Shinjuro, you wait. I will repay every ounce of suffering you inflicted upon me and the Shin family, bit by bit. I turned to Xiao Heng, my smile radiant. Young Master Xiao, though this wedding has been a chaotic spectacle, our marital bond is finally sealed. Xiao Heng gazed at me, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Indeed. Henceforth, we are true husband and wife. The farce in the wedding hall concluded, and Xiao Heng and I returned to our new chamber in the rear courtyard. Bright red candles cast their glow, yet the room felt eerily cold. The ceremonial wine on the table remained untouched, looking almost like a joke. Xiaosu had been taken to the censorate. His followers would surely become desperate and lash out. Xiao Heng shed his wedding robes for a plain blue tunic. Though his face remained pale, his gaze was clear and sharp. The evidence you seek regarding the Shin family's old case is most likely hidden in the secret chamber of the general's mansion. I toyed with the jade pendant at my waist, a keepsake from my father. Its reverse bore the character for loyalty. In my previous life, I never discovered its secret until rebirth, when I felt a hidden compartment inside. Within lay half a note, evidence of crime in secret chamber, dry well in east courtyard. I'll go tonight. I rose, shedding my wedding gown for agile attire. Swift and decisive, I headed for the dry well in the eastern courtyard, undoubtedly the evidence's hiding place. Xiao Heng raised an eyebrow, surprised. You know its location? A clue left by father. I offered no further explanation, my fingers gliding over the soft sword at my waist, a gift from Uncle Zhao, sharp enough to slice through iron like mud. Xiaosu's men are surely watching us now. You stay here to hold the fort, I'll be more effective acting alone. He nodded, pulling a token from his sleeve. This is a pass token for the general's residence, left by my mother years ago. Most of the old servants recognize it, it'll help you avoid attention. I took the token, its chill meeting my touch. Thank you. Be careful. His gaze held a flicker of worry. Xiaosu's personal guard commander, Zhou Feng, skilled in martial arts and utterly loyal to him, will likely be on duty in the mansion tonight. I know. I tucked the token away and leapt through the window. Rest assured, I won't return empty-handed. The general's residence was vast, the night as dark as ink, with only a few flickering lanterns marking patrol routes. Using the shadows of trees for cover, I evaded the sentries and made my way eastward toward the eastern courtyard. In my past life, I'd been here several times. I knew the eastern courtyard was secluded and long abandoned. The dry well lay beneath the old locust tree in the corner. Just as I scaled the wall into the eastern courtyard, I heard footsteps approaching. I immediately hid behind the rockery. 3 men in black, lanterns in hand, were circling the dry well. Leading them was none other than Zhou Feng. "Commander," one of the men in black asked, "the general has been captured. Should we move the items in the secret chamber?" Zhou Feng replied in a deep voice, "The general ordered that nothing inside is to be touched unless absolutely necessary. That scheming bitch Shinqingxi might be waiting for us to walk right into her trap. Guard this place. Don't let anyone near." I sneered inwardly. My suspicions were confirmed. Xiaosu had anticipated I'd come for evidence and stationed Zhou Feng here. Once they were out of earshot, I crept toward the dry well. A thick stone slab, covered in moss, sealed the opening. I mustered my strength to push the slab aside, and a stench of decay hit me. Chiseled steps lined the well wall, clearly a passage to a secret chamber. I lit the firelighter I carried and climbed down the steps. The passage was narrow, barely wide enough for one person. After climbing down about 10 zhang, I finally reached the bottom. Before me lay a modest chamber, its walls lined with bookshelves piled high with scrolls and correspondence. I headed straight for the shelves, searching for documents related to the Shen family. Soon, a volume labeled "The Shen Family Treason Case" caught my eye. I opened it to find all the confessions forged, my father's signature copied, and the witnesses listed long silenced by Xiaosu in my previous life. Found it. My heart leapt with joy. Just as I was about to stow the book away, footsteps echoed behind me. "Miss Shin, it is indeed you." Zhou Feng's voice was icy, dripping with murderous intent. "The general anticipated your arrival and had me waiting here for quite some time." I spun around, gripping my soft sword tightly, glaring at him coldly. "Zhou Feng, you follow Xiaosu, aiding tyranny. Do you not fear retribution?" "Retribution?" He sneered, drawing the broadsword at his waist. "In these chaotic times, the victor is king, the vanquished are bandits. Grand Scholar Shen was blind to the times, colluding with rebels, he deserved his death. You've walked straight into the trap today, perfect for avenging the general." Before his words faded, he swung his blade at me. The blade's wind was fierce, cutting through the air with a sharp whistle. I sidestepped, drew my soft sword, and thrust it backward at his wrist. Zhou Feng reacted with lightning speed, flipping his wrist to evade my blade before swinging his broadsword again. The cramped chamber offered little room for prolonged combat. I fought while retreating, using the bookshelves for cover as I sought an opening to counter. Zhou Feng's martial prowess was undeniably formidable, every strike deadly. Had I not trained relentlessly since my rebirth, I would have been no match for him. "You think you can escape?" Zhou Feng roared, cleaving the bookshelf with a single stroke. Books scattered across the floor. "This chamber is a dead end. You die today." I gave a cold laugh, deliberately leaving an opening to lure him forward. True to form, he took the bait, his broadsword thrusting straight for my chest. I ducked sharply, my soft sword darting through his armpit and sweeping toward his throat. With a wet thud, blood splattered onto the case files. Zhou Feng stared at me in disbelief, clutching his neck as he collapsed. He twitched a few times before his breath ceased. I caught my breath, wiped the blood from my face, and continued searching the bookshelves. Besides the forged case files, I found a stack of letters, correspondence between Xiaosu and a traitor from the previous dynasty. They detailed how they conspired to frame the Shen family, how they planted evidence accusing my father of treason, and how they bribed officials to fabricate proof. With this, Xiaosu was as good as dead. I gathered the letters and files, tucking them securely within my robes. Just as I prepared to leave, footsteps echoed down the passageway, followed by voices. "Commander, what's the situation inside? Did you capture that bitch Shinqingxi?" It was Zhou Feng's men. I instantly extinguished my torch and hid behind the bookshelves. "Commander?" The man stepped into the chamber and froze upon seeing the corpse on the floor. "Commander! What happened?" Seizing the moment, I burst from behind the bookshelf, drew my soft sword, and swiftly disposed of 2 black-clad figures. The remaining man, terrified out of his wits, turned to flee. I flicked a silver needle, striking his knee squarely. He staggered and collapsed. "Speak! What other schemes does Xiaosu harbor?" I pinned him down, my voice icy. "I don't know. I know nothing," he wailed. The general only ordered us to guard the secret chamber and keep anyone away. Please spare me. Spare you? I sneered. In my past life, you followed Zhou Feng and killed 3 of my father's old subordinates. That debt is long overdue. With that, my sword fell, ending his life. After disposing of the body, I crawled out of the dry well through the passageway, replaced the stone slab, and slipped silently away from the east wing. When I returned to our new quarters, Xiao Heng was still awake, waiting for me by lamplight. Seeing the bloodstains on my clothes, he sprang to his feet. Something happened? Nothing. Just ran into some blind fools. I tossed the scrolls and letters from my embrace onto the table. The evidence was found, irrefutable proof of Xiao's framing the Shen family. Xiao Heng picked up the letters and scanned them, his expression growing increasingly grave. I never imagined he would collude with a traitor from the previous dynasty. This isn't merely a personal vendetta, it's treason. With this, no matter how many followers he has, they won't be able to save him. I sat at the table, sipping my tea to quell the turmoil within. Xiao Heng looked up at me, a hint of approval in his eyes. You possess not only extraordinary courage but martial skills far beyond what I imagined. To seek vengeance, one must learn everything. I replied calmly. Should we present this evidence to the censorate tomorrow? There's no rush. Xiao Heng shook his head. Xiao's faction has deep roots within the court. Handing over the evidence rashly might alert them, or worse, allow them to destroy it. We need to find the right moment to strike decisively. You have a plan? I raised an eyebrow. 3 days hence is His Majesty's birthday. A night banquet will be held in the palace, attended by all civil and military officials. A sharp gleam flashed in Xiao Heng's eyes. Then we'll make the evidence public, leaving him nowhere to run. I nodded, finding the plan feasible. Good. These next 3 days, we must be extra cautious. Xiao's faction will undoubtedly try every means to seize the evidence. Rest assured. Xiao Heng secured the evidence, hiding it in a secret compartment beneath the bed. I've already reinforced the guards, they won't find an opening. The red candles burned down as dawn's first light crept in. Watching the pale glow spread across the window, my heart swelled with anticipation. The birthday banquet in 3 days would be Xiao's final hour. Xiao Heng approached me and whispered, "You've been up all night. Rest for a while. Leave the rest to me." I shook my head, my gaze unwavering. No need. I feel no sleepiness now. Xiao Heng, our grand show has only just begun. The late-night breeze carried a chill. Suddenly, a slash tore through the paper window of the bridal chamber, and a wisp of intoxicating smoke drifted silently inside. My eyes snapped open. My fingertips already gripped the silver needles tucked beneath my pillow. We'd anticipated Xiao's henchmen would come to seize the evidence. Xiao Heng and I hadn't slept at all, waiting only for them to walk straight into our trap. Hold your breath. Xiao Heng's voice was hushed, tinged with coldness. He raised his hand to extinguish the candle, plunging the room into instant darkness. As the smoke dissipated, the door kicked open with a clang. A dozen black-clad figures wielding knives and clubs stormed in, heading straight for beneath the bed. They clearly knew where the evidence was hidden. Now! I barked, springing up alongside Xiao Heng. I flung silver needles, instantly knocking down the 2 leading figures. Though frail, Xiao Heng moved with surprising agility. His folding fan had somehow transformed into a razor-sharp iron blade, swiftly forcing back 3 assailants. "The evidence is with me," I deliberately shouted, drawing the attackers toward me. They fell for it, swarming to seize the empty bundle in my hands. I sidestepped the blade's edge, drew my soft sword, and with a flash of cold steel, instantly slashed the leader's wrist. He cried out in pain, his blade dropping to the ground. Seizing the moment, I kicked him square in the chest. He staggered backward, crashing into the black-clad man behind him. "Take him alive!" Xiao Heng shouted, his iron-ribbed fan jabbing at a black-clad man's pressure point. The black-clad men hadn't expected us to be prepared, they immediately lost their footing. Xiao Heng and I worked in perfect sync, one attacking, one covering the rear. In less than half an incense stick's time, we subdued all but the leader, who still resisted. "Speak! Who sent you?" I pressed my sword against his throat, my voice icy. The leader gritted his teeth, refusing to speak, his eyes fierce. Xiao Heng stepped forward, his iron-jointed folding fan tapping lightly against the man's knee. A distinct crack echoed, the sound of bones snapping. "Ah!" The man cried out in pain, cold sweat pouring down his face. "Still won't talk?" Xiao Heng's tone was calm, yet carried a bone-chilling coldness. "Next time, it'll be your arm." The leader trembled violently, stammering, "I'll talk." It was Chancellor Li who sent us. He's the general's father-in-law. With the general arrested, he wants to protect him, so he ordered us to seize the evidence. Chancellor Li? I raised an eyebrow. Chancellor Li is Shinjuro's maternal grandfather. They really are birds of a feather. Anything else? Xiao Heng pressed. Did Chancellor Li say what to do next? He said that 3 days from now, at His Majesty's birthday banquet, he'll unite with the court ministers to plead for the general. At the same time, he'll have someone act within the palace to eliminate Miss Shin, eliminating the threat forever. The leader said tearfully. Act within the palace? A cold gleam flashed in my eyes. Someone from the harem? It's Her Imperial Highness the Consort Shu. The leader continued, Consort Shu is Chancellor Li's daughter and the general's sister-in-law. She will find a way to eliminate you during the banquet. Consort Shu? In my past life, she targeted me at every turn. Never did I expect that in this life, she would conspire with Chancellor Li and Xiao Su to plot my death. Very well. I let out a cold laugh. You know everything already. With that, my hand rose and my sword fell, ending him. Xiao Heng's men dealt with the remaining black-clad figures, leaving no trace behind. I hadn't expected Chancellor Li and Consort Shu to make their move so soon. Xiao Heng gazed at the corpses on the ground, his expression darkening. It seems our plan must be accelerated. Unnecessary. I shook my head. The more hastily they act, the more likely they are to reveal their weaknesses. The birthday banquet will be the perfect opportunity to take them all down. Xiao Heng nodded. You're right. But Consort Shu has deep roots in the harem. If you move at the banquet, you must be extremely cautious. I have my methods. I walked to the table, picked up a piece of paper, and wrote a few words. This was a contact within the palace from my father's old faction, a eunuch named Xiaoluzi. Tomorrow, have someone deliver this note to him. Instruct him to provide covert support during the banquet. Xiao Heng took the note and glanced at it. I hadn't realized you had arrangements even within the palace. To exact revenge, one must consider every possible angle, I replied calmly. All these years, father's former subordinates have lain dormant in the shadows, waiting precisely for this day. As dawn broke, Xiao Heng and I tidied the scene, acting as if nothing had occurred. After breakfast, Uncle Zhao sent word, Chancellor Li had mobilized over a dozen ministers within the court. They planned to plead for Xiao Su at the banquet, slandering me for fabricating evidence and framing loyal officials. It seemed they were determined to protect Xiao Su at all costs. Xiao Heng set down his teacup, his gaze sharp. Yet, the more they acted this way, the more it proved Xiao Su's guilt. Indeed. A cold smile touched my lips. At the banquet, I would make this evidence public. Let's see what excuses they could come up with then. At noon, word came from the palace. Consort Shu had invited me to attend court tomorrow to discuss arrangements for the birthday banquet. Is she planning to make her move early? Xiao Heng frowned. It's possible. I nodded. But this gives me the perfect opportunity to see what she's really up to and make contact with Xiaoluzi. I'll accompany you. Xiao Heng offered. No need. I shook my head. Your presence would only arouse her suspicion. Going alone will allow me greater freedom of action. Rest assured, I won't be in danger. Xiao Heng looked at me, a hint of worry in his eyes, but finally nodded, all right. Be extremely cautious. If you encounter danger, send the signal immediately. I'll have someone come to your aid. MHM. I replied, my mind already set on a plan. The Consort Shu's invitation to the palace was nothing more than a test, or perhaps an opportunity to strike. Neither would succeed. Moreover, this presented the perfect chance to plant spies within the palace, preparing for my counterattack at the birthday banquet. That evening, as I polished my soft sword in my chamber, Xiaoheng entered and handed me a small porcelain vial. This contains an antidote. Should Consort Shu poison you within the palace, take this pill to neutralize any toxin. I accepted the vial, my heart stirring slightly. Thank you. We are allies. No need for thanks. Xiaoheng watched me, his eyes holding a hint of complexity. After the birthday banquet, Xiao Su will fall. Chancellor Li and Consort Shu will also be implicated. Your great vengeance will be served. What are your plans afterward? Afterward? I paused, then smiled. Naturally, to restore the Shen family. To make those who once humiliated the Shen family pay the price. Also, I will give my father's former subordinates a proper resolution. Xiaoheng nodded. Good. Whatever you choose to do, I will support you. I lifted my gaze to meet his, a wave of emotion washing over me. In my past life, I trusted Xiao Su wrongly, only to see my family destroyed. This time, I met Xiaoheng. Though we began as allies merely using each other, his repeated help and support stirred something different within me. But now was not the time for such thoughts. The urgent task at hand was to ensure the success of the birthday banquet, to bring down Xiao Su, Chancellor Li, and Consort Shu, and to avenge the Shen family. I sheathed my soft sword, my gaze unwavering. I will proceed with caution when I enter the palace tomorrow. 3 days hence, at the birthday banquet, we shall ensure their ruin and make them pay the price they deserve. Xiaoheng gazed at me, a faint smile curving his lips. Very well. I look forward to seeing you shine brilliantly at the banquet. As night deepened, I lay in bed, yet sleep eluded me. Tomorrow's journey to the palace promises a fierce battle. The banquet 3 days hence will decide the outcome. I must be utterly alert, allowing no margin for error. Xiao Su, Chancellor Li, Consort Shu, Shen. Each and every one of you, just wait. In this lifetime I, Qingxi, will make you pay for your crimes with blood. Just then, a faint sound came from outside the window, a signal from Xiao Luzi, confirming he'd received the note and would meet me within the palace. The imperial palace banquet glowed with candlelight as civil and military officials gathered in the Hall of Supreme Harmony, a scene of feigned peace and prosperity. Dressed in a crimson court gown with dark gold cloud patterns embroidered on the hem, I held the stack of evidence capable of determining life or death. Step by step, I walked into the hall, my gaze sweeping over the enemies seated at the banquet, each wearing a different expression. Xiao Su was shackled in the corner of the hall, yet he still refused to give up, staring intently at me. Chancellor Li sat composed at his seat, his expression steady yet hiding panic in his eyes. Consort Shu sat among the imperial concubines, her makeup flawless, her gaze filled with venomous hatred. Shen hid behind Chancellor Li, like a frightened rabbit, unable to meet my eyes. Your Majesty, this humble servant has urgent matters to report. I stepped into the center of the hall, knelt, and bowed my head. My clear voice cut through the chamber's musical accompaniment. The emperor set down his wine cup, raising an eyebrow. Qingxi, today is the emperor's birthday. What cannot be delayed until another day? This matter concerns the nation's security and the integrity of loyal ministers. This humble servant dares not delay. I raised my head, my gaze sharp. Your Majesty, this humble servant must accuse General Xiao Su, Chancellor Li, and Consort Shu of colluding with traitors from the previous dynasty, framing loyal subjects, and conspiring with the enemy to betray the nation. Their crimes deserve death. Outrageous! Chancellor Li leapt to his feet, roaring, Qingxi. Do not slander us with such lies. General Xiao is imprisoned, Consort Shu resides deep within the harem, and I myself have served with unwavering loyalty. How dare you defame the court's pillars on His Majesty's birthday? Unwavering loyalty? I sneered coldly, pulling the first stack of documents from my robe. This is irrefutable proof of Xiao Su framing my entire Shen family. It contains his forged confessions, his imitation of my father's signature, and letters proving he bribed officials. Your Majesty may have scribes verify the handwriting and summon surviving witnesses from that time for cross-examination. Guards took the documents and presented them to the emperor. The emperor flipped through them briefly, his expression darkening as his piercing gaze fixed on Xiao Su. Xiao Su roared, Your Majesty. This is all her fabrication. She seeks to ruin my reputation and avenge the Shin family. I implore your majesty to see clearly. Fabrication? I produced another stack of letters, correspondence between Xiaosu and traders from the previous dynasty. They detail their conspiracy to overthrow your majesty and divide the empire. The seals on these letters bear the private stamps of those traders. Your majesty may send men to verify them. This time, before the emperor could speak, Consort Shu screamed as she rose, "Your majesty! I am innocent. This is all Shinqingxi's scheme. She envies my favor and deliberately framed me and the chancellor." Framed? I looked at her, a cold smile curling my lips. Consort Shu, 3 days ago you sent someone to poison my tea. Fortunately, I was prepared and had eunuch Xiaolu intercept that cup of poisoned tea. The poisoned tea remains, and both witness and evidence are present. Do you still wish to argue? Xiao Luzi stepped forward from behind the throne, presenting a brocade box as he knelt. Your majesty, this is the poisoned tea Consort Shu sent to Miss Shin. It contained cinnabar. This servant can testify. Consort Shu's face drained instantly. She slumped into her chair, utterly speechless. Chancellor Li still tried to protest. Your majesty. Even if Xiaosu is guilty, it has nothing to do with this old man or Consort Shu. Shinqingxi is fabricating charges to frame us. Unrelated? I flung out the final piece of evidence, an account book secretly uncovered by Xiao Heng, detailing Chancellor Li and Xiaosu's illicit stockpiling of weapons and collusion with border commanders. Chancellor Li, this ledger records the quantities of grain and arms you supplied to Xiaosu, along with your secret signals for communicating with the border generals. You thought your scheme was flawless, but little did you know you were already under surveillance. The ledger was presented to the emperor, its handwriting and seals clear and unmistakable. After reading it, the emperor slammed his fist on the table and roared in fury, "This is outrageous." The hall fell instantly silent, officials trembling in terror, not daring to breathe. Xiaosu's face turned ashen, Chancellor Li shook violently, and Consort Shu wept uncontrollably, yet lacked even the courage to plead for mercy. Shinjiro suddenly rushed forward, kneeling before the emperor and wailing, "Your majesty. I know I was wrong. Xiaosu forced me. He made me seduce him, made me help frame my sister. Please spare my life, your majesty." Forced you? I stepped before her, looking down at her with disdain. 3 days ago, you sneaked into the censorate to destroy Xiaosu's incriminating evidence. Uncle Zhao caught you red-handed. Was that also coercion? You hoarded cursed artifacts to hex me, was that too a matter of being forced? Shinjiro trembled, meeting my icy gaze. Speechless, she could only bang her head against the ground in desperate pleas. The emperor watched the scene unfold, his face turning ashen. His voice boomed, "Guards! Seize Xiaosu, Chancellor Li, Consort Shu, and Shinjiro. Imprison them in the imperial dungeons. Xiaosu, for colluding with enemies and betraying the state, framing loyal officials, execute him by slow slicing. Chancellor Li, colluding with rebels and plotting treason, shall have his entire family executed. Consort Shu, poisoning others and meddling in state affairs, shall be granted white silk. Shinjiro, aiding the wicked and slandering her elder sister, shall be exiled 3,000 li and forbidden from ever returning to the capital. Your Majesty, spare my life. I refuse to accept this. Shinqingxi, even as a ghost, I will never let you off." The wails of my enemies rose and fell, yet they only brought me satisfaction. Guards stepped forward, dragging them away. Calm finally returned to the hall. The emperor looked at me, his gaze complex. "Shinqingxi, your Shin family suffered injustice. Today, the wrongs have finally been righted. What reward do you desire? Speak freely." I knelt and bowed my head, my voice calm yet resolute. "Your Majesty, this humble servant seeks no reward. I only ask that you clear the Shin family's name, restore my father's official rank and honor, and grant eternal rest to those who died unjustly for the Shin family." Granted. The emperor nodded. "Tomorrow I shall issue an edict. Grand Scholar Shin shall be exonerated, a posthumous title bestowed, the Shin family's assets fully restored, and its members freed from servitude." "Thank you, Your Majesty." I rose, the hatred festering within me for years finally dissipating like smoke. As the night banquet dispersed, I stepped out of the hall of supreme harmony. The evening breeze brushed my face, carrying a hint of chill, yet leaving me feeling profoundly light. Xiao Heng stood waiting outside the hall. Moonlight bathed him, softening his pallid features. "It's all over." He approached me, his voice soft. "Yes, it's over." I turned to look at him, a relieved smile touching my lips. "Thank you, Xiao Heng. Without you, I might not have avenged them so smoothly." He shook his head, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "We are allies, and more than that, we are husband and wife. Your vengeance is mine." My heart stirred. I turned to gaze at the full moon on the horizon, its pure light illuminating the path ahead. The grudges and passions of my past life finally drew to a close this night. From now on, I will restore the Shin family. I will ensure father's life's work is not in vain and that those who supported me can live well. Xiao Heng, I looked at him, my gaze unwavering. After the Shin family's name is cleared, I wish to return to the old Shin residence. There, father left behind military treatises and a roster of his former subordinates. I intend to gather them, serve the nation, and restore the Shin family's honor. Xiao Heng looked at me, a flicker of approval in his eyes. "Good. I'll go with you. I've secured command of the Imperial Guards. From now on, I'll protect you, protect the Shin family, and protect this vast and beautiful land." I smiled. This lifetime, I am no longer that foolish girl blinded by love, but Shinqingxi, holding her own destiny in her hands. Vengeance served, the road ahead stretches long. I shall live as I choose. Under the moonlight, their silhouettes stood side by side. The wind lifted their robes, carrying boundless hope. I murmured softly, "For the rest of our days, I seek your guidance, my husband." Xiao Heng turned, his eyes brimming with starlight, and replied gently, "We shall guide each other, my wife."